Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Hey everybody, another day here at Giga Texas, and a lot is going on. It's a beautiful day to fly, and a few things that I want to go over today. It was just released yesterday by Tesla, the 2025 Impact Report, and it has a lot of information in it. There's both the executive summary or smaller version, and then there's the full version that is over 100 pages long. And there was a couple of things that I wanted to kind of talk about that has to do with Giga Texas in there that I find kind of interesting. They're talking about the Cybercab production process and the fact that they use reaction injection molding for the body panels. And what that is it's sort of like thermoplastic injection molding, but it's a little bit different. And instead of having the thermoplastic parts that could be melted back down and reused right away, this has got more of like a thermoset format, and they also inject the paint color in right as the mold is coming together, so that the paint is of course molded right onto the part, and it's also how they are able to get it shiny right out of the molds, which is really cool. Now I've had some people ask, well, with the reaction injection molding or the rim process, does that mean that they can't recycle those parts? And that is not true at all. There are various ways of recycling that material. You just can't really melt it right back down. So there's a couple of extra steps, but into the future, as Cybercabs come to end of life, it'll be really easy to recycle that material. So I think Tesla has thought about that. Now there's another thing that they did discuss about using the rim process, and that is it completely removes the process of painting, which means that the volatile organic compounds, or kind of the mist that you get into the atmosphere when painting, it's kind of unavoidable, is completely eliminated from this process. And one of the things that I covered 5 years ago when they were building Giga Texas was the paint shop. And one of the major components that they had to add in is a gigantic system called a regenerative thermal oxidizer. And this is a device that is used to remove those volatile organic compounds in a safe and environmental friendly way. Now these were installed over at Giga Berlin. It's also here inside the factory at Giga Texas, and it's kind of very inefficient use of the space since it takes up all of the floors in a very large section of the paint shop. Because the rim process for the Cybercabs eliminates the paint shop, they've eliminated the need to have a gigantic regenerative thermal oxidizer system, or RTO, for the Cybercab production process. Now that doesn't completely remove that need, because there are various parts that do have a degree of painting, one of which on the Cybercabs are the door rings, the sides of the vehicles where the doors attach. Those are made out of high strength steel, and they do have to have a coating system. And in addition to that, the Cybertruck has a similar process for that passenger shell, which is underneath the stainless steel skin. So because of that, there's been several permits for the installation of a smaller regenerative thermal oxidizer system in a place in the factory called the High Bay, which is just south of where the driveline units are made, and it's right in between the Cybercab and the Cybertruck production part of the factory. So it's generally a great location for it, much smaller. Here's a quick video of the roof of Giga Texas showing you the exhaust stack that's coming out of that smaller regenerative thermal oxidizer system, but it supports both the Cybercab and the Cybertruck, and it has saved a lot of space and complexity within the factory. So anyway, there's a lot more that's in the Impact Report, of course a lot more while we're flying today. So I hope you found that interesting. Let's get into the drone, fly around, and see what Giga Texas looks like today.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Well, good morning from the west side of Giga Texas today. Beautiful day to fly. And first, I'm going to stop and look at this dirt section. It looks like a road going underneath the highway, and they still have some of those trailers and some recycling bins that are stationed here. I'm not sure if that's going to just be temporary or not, but we will keep watching for that. I thought I would start on the far southwest corner, looking at the test track today, see what is going on. There have been a lot of people on the ground taking videos of the Cybercabs driving around on the track. Today there isn't any at the moment that I was flying. You can see here at the operations trailer and where they park all of the Cybercabs that they are all waiting right now until they get a chance to start up some of that test driving again. And from what I understand, it happened about an hour after I shot this video. But this is what it looks like with them all kind of parked in between their tests. What is going on here on the track, however, you can see some of the cones and some of the work here, is that they are adding in this new lane that has essentially like cobblestones. Great view here to show you just how rough that surface is. This is again part of that noise, vibration, and harshness testing. Also active noise calibration for the Cybercabs. It looks like it's going to be a fairly substantial lane that they are building with all of those stone, and probably quite of a rough road. And you can tell that other lanes are equally rough, but in different ways. Still waiting to see the asphalt work in the middle section where you can see the kind of the wavy roads or the chicanes, and connecting into the kind of the projections going on to that inner oval. But this is what the test track looks like today. Sorry about the sun glare right over the factory. It is early in the morning, and we're going to get a little bit of that lighting effect for the next few minutes here on the video. But I'll do what I can to try to avoid that. What I'll try to do is turn the drone so that it faces away from the sun, and we get a better look here at the operations with all of these workshops and the materials. See the supercharger workshop on the left, very busy as usual. The bottom of the screen, more items have been delivered. You can see that here with some of the packaging. Also, the top center of the screen, more of the items on the pallets. Some of them are red and white. That generally means that it's production line equipment. So more is being added into the factory. We see 4 mobile superchargers here on these trailers that we just flew over. And I noticed these items, as I zoom in, you can tell that they're kind of like palletized, containerized systems. This looks like a filtration system, and it will be assembled inside the factory somewhere in the fairly near future. And I'll try to keep an eye on this. Maybe we'll figure out where that is headed. Of course, all of the transformers and some additional equipment have been delivered here while it's in storage, waiting for their opportunity to be used. As we've talked many times, transformers is a kind of a critical factor for electrical services and AI data centers and megapacks all around the country. So Tesla is getting ahead of the game. We do see there is a lot of vehicles production, specifically on the Model Ys, is really picking up. We do see Cybercabs and Cybertrucks mixed in with many of the Model Ys. And some of the Model Ys are either the performance with the new colors, that different color blue, and you can see those around the site today, or they are the Model YLs, the longer version of the Model Ys, and that production has begun. We do see, of course, this large grouping of Cybercabs and many more of the Cybertrucks that have been produced here at the bottom of the screen. And this is all pretty good sign for all of the various different customers waiting for the Cybertrucks, the Model Y Longs, and the rest of the Model Ys. These Cybercabs appear to have been here for a while. They do have kind of a covering of dust on them, and you can also see many of those different color blue Model Ys all over the site here today. On the west side of the end of line, we also see a large number of Model Ys and another grouping here of Cybercabs. Some of them have the lights on as if maybe they are either doing their hazards or they may be getting a software update, but this is what they look like here. As you pass the figure 8 test track, We see another large grouping of the Cybercabs. Most of these look like they just are brand new. And my previous video, we did not see any here at all. So this is another good sign. And assuming that these are all brand new, this gives you an idea of across the site how many of them are being built, at least on a daily basis. So another thing I did notice as we continue to fly up to the north is this change. This is the megapacks for the Tesla semis. We've always had one semi here for the last year, year and a half during testing. It now looks like they may be extending the number of megapacks, perhaps indicating that we're going to start seeing more of the Tesla semis here, probably the refresh. And we have seen one. It's over at the crash testing facility, and I want to show you that later on in the video. But right now, the direct delivery center looks like it's getting busy for more customer deliveries. We see more of the Model Ys, and of course that blue color that seems to be quite popular right now. And just some other cars driving in autonomously for the sorting lanes. So let's go ahead and cross over the highway, and we'll take a look at the other side near the factory. And we saw these, or at least some of these on my previous video. They've now added a few more. It looks like there's about 11 or 12. These all have the Cybercab logos, which means that they have no steering wheels or pedals. And these would be introduced theoretically into the robotaxi fleet very soon. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on these, and we'll see when they leave, and if we're going to see a lot more of them out in Austin doing testing, or maybe some passenger pickup. That would be really cool. As we go along here past the main entrance, at the moment that I flew here, I did not see a Model Y coming out of the factory, where that ramp is, but previously I did see several coming out. I just timed it slightly wrong with the drone when it was here doing the video. We do see two more Cybercabs. We just flew over. They used to have a Model Y long under car cover. That has been moved since the announcement was made that they are starting to do the production. I did see a recycle truck picking up one of these blue bins full of the aluminum cans, or the cans for the 4680s. But by the time I got back for the video, that had already departed. So they are continuing to make, at least going through the testing process of a lot of the 4680 cans. And maybe that's associated with the added production line capability that they've been doing in here. Of course, through that plastic door, we've seen ground slab work. See some of the kind of gray crates bringing in water and ice for the crews, and a lot more of the bins bringing out materials from the inside. Looks like a Cybertruck is busy carrying a lot of equipment here at the north part of the plastics manufacturing section of the factory. And as I continue to pan around, we can kind of get a sense of the pace of operations here at the Cybertruck casting handling yard with all of these rack systems. And of course, on the east side, we see some of the Cybercab kind of the bucks or trimming items. And with the release of the information in the impact report, we actually saw some of these being used as part of that reaction injection molding processes that they use for making the exterior skin of the Cybercab. Here's a good look at what is going on by the casting and melt center today. I'm going to fly up over and reposition from the power lines, and we'll zoom in and get a better look at what is going on. In the impact report, they talk a lot about the recycling efforts, the amount of energy and aluminum waste that they are saving with this melt center. And we can, of course, see that operation in effect here today. And more of the Model Y castings here on this side of the factory. We do see some red items next to the wall and some other crated items. Again, that's for production line changes that are going on inside, maybe some additions for new lines. This area with the opening still is getting the receiving docks reconfigured. They're doing some cutting into the concrete apron. And of course, there's those bands along those concrete panels showing that they are temporarily being held, and there's most likely some kind of additional work being done on the inside of the factory in that location. All along this part of the factory is where the Cybercab production line is. We see some more equipment on the ground, although less of it as they continue to bring it inside and install. And as we look at the temporary platform and the chiller units for that reaction injection molding, but decided I'm going to zoom back out. We're going to kind of do a loop around the parking lot here and also the staging yard. Then we'll come back and I'm going to show you where the some items on the roof are and the importance of that. But we do notice that in that temporary staging yard, there's only one of the old Cybercabs. The rest have been moved away, probably for recycling. This is what the material staging yard looks like with many of the trailers for some of the contractors doing all the work. And we see some large pipes here on the ground next to these containers. I'm going to fly back over the trailers and where we saw some conduit being installed on our way over to the chiller system. And again, this is to support the injection molding machines on the inside of the factory in this part. More equipment on the ground for installation. And while I'm here, I'm going to fly over to the roof. I wanted to show you these items. You see these tall smokestacks or exhaust stacks here. One of them is much larger than the other. One of them is in black, and we see the two blue fan units. This is where the regenerative thermal oxidizer system has been installed. On the right is where the Cybertruck body in white is, and then directly ahead where we're flying over is part of the Cybercab production line. And this is what is supporting getting the rings around for the doors on the Cybercabs and that shell of the Cybertruck painted up before they start putting the body panels on the rest of the construction process. And that's why they need that smaller regenerative thermal oxidizer system for those volatile organic compounds, all of which for the exterior panels for the Cybercab was removed with the processes that they are using. And that was what was discussed in the impact report and also what we talked about in the intro of the video. We do see here that the pond is continuing to be empty and quite a bit of debris at the bottom of the liner. I'm kind of waiting to see what they're going to do with that. The broken pane on this southwest corner is still visible, and you can see the protecting fences on the ground to keep people from having any problems in case that were to completely break. And hopefully we'll see that being replaced here very soon. So while we are here on the south side, I'm going to come back up towards that pond, the line pond and also the natural pond, and fly along River Road to show you what is underway here with the site for the Advanced Technology Chip Fab. Starting off at the bottom of the screen is that drainage system, kind of goes underneath River Road and well over towards the Colorado River. On the north end, we see how it's being tied into the retaining walls and how some of the forms are there for the retaining walls and rebar to be put in. Of course, this is the outfall channel with the rebar around it to kind of make that drainage system. And we can see how it is being positioned in with the rest of the walls, plus the excavation work at the bottom of the pond. All of this is getting ready for the liner to be put in once all the walls are completed and the excavation work is completed also. Here is where more of the dirt is being brought in to raise up the grade to replace where all the trees used to be. And this is to flatten out this entire site for that construction of the Advanced Technology Chip Fab. The recycling yard is still here, very active. I still think that we're seeing on the far northeast corner where they're putting in structures for this to be moving, and we'll watch that as time goes on. Of course, these workshops making all the pipes that are part of the chiller system for Cortex 2 and other parts of the site is still very busy. And they don't really show signs of this moving quite yet. I think that's because they want to keep the construction going on the other projects before they shut this down and relocate it. Now, speaking of the project, this is what the land and the graded area looks like for the Advanced Technology Chip Fab today. I'm wondering if all of these steel items that are being stored here aren't actually part of the structure, and that's why they have them positioned here. I want to continue to watch that, and we'll see what happens. There does look to be a shape of a foundation beginning to materialize here, and it depends on if this is the eastern border or not. You see this kind of mound of dirt at the bottom of the screen. we're pretty soon going to start getting an idea of what the width is of this particular factory. The rendering was not completely clear, and we haven't seen any actual dimensions. So far, it's just been kind of guesstimating based on what we saw with that one rendering. But you can see where that work is being done right now and how it is oriented with the East Warehouse on wheels. Of course, River Road extension here at the bottom of the screen, and the old pavilion and tree-lined area next to where all of these pipe segments are being stored. Also a great view across this construction site to the main factory. I'm going to come back in here briefly and just look one more time at all these materials and how they are being laid out. It does suggest to me that this is where they're going to be keeping them. If that's the case, then the building is going to be significantly smaller than what I had originally thought. But we'll have to keep watching to find out for sure. So as I focus back towards the battery cathode plant and the east side where they're putting the river road in, of course, the filtration pond, I wanted to take this opportunity and do a quick 360-degree close-in view of what is going on at crash testing. Of course, the new crash test dummy facility on the left is getting some of its HVAC in. See the south end of the crash test itself with the crash wall, and that is where the actual crash data collection takes place. Here on the north end, we can see the flying floor underneath that awning and this steel structure at the bottom center of the screen. And that is used for rollover testing. And then I did notice that the Tesla Semi looks like it is inside the crash testing facility. You can see the wheels of the rear part of the truck. It used to be stored here on the outside next to this container in the middle of the screen. Obviously, that is gone, and it looks like they're doing some sort of testing within the crash test facility of that refreshed Semi. And as I continue to maneuver around here, you can see we just passed over the cab of, or at least the cover of the Semi. It's on the north end. See covered areas here on the west side of the crash test facility where they have some crash tested vehicles. And of course, getting back into the mechanics room where it has the machinery to have the cable to pull the vehicles for the testing, and a better shot of the advanced technology, the anthropomorphic test device, or the crash dummy facility here on the south end, and how it looks here today. So a lot of activity, a lot of work has been and continues to be done at the crash testing facility as they work on, looks like the Semi, but also they've been doing Model YL and of course a lot of the Cybercab over the last several months. As we are here on this part of the site, I'm just going to show you the new trailers. It looks like they are doing some excavation work, probably for electrical conduit, currently using a generator for some of the offices. And as we kind of maneuver around here, most of the trenching for the water pipes now looks like it is complete and filled back in. And that kind of follows along to the east where Tesla Road will eventually be extended right through the area that you see with the vehicles driving right now. As we get to Cortex 2, there is a continued change with the temporary chillers. You can see 9 of them are disconnected. We do see 4 fans working. That's the most I've seen so far, and another one looks like it might be getting ready to turn on. So that's a great indication of the maturity of the cooling system, and also probably the operation of Cortex 2. Of course, the chiller system for the battery cathode plant looks operational right now, and all of the workshops with the materials and some of the pipes is continuing to get more mature. Part 2 of the chiller plant looks like it is nearing its structural completion, but we're going to have to see all of the pipes being installed soon. Looking across the parapet wall to the Megapack site, a couple of things that I did notice. One, you'll see on the ground that many of the light posts have been installed. In fact, there's a few more on the ground waiting for installation. That will greatly help with the lighting around here, since it is can be very dark at night, even with the contractor lighting systems. Of course, half of the Megapacks are installed and at least partially, if not fully operational, and then the rest is getting ready for installation. The first thing that they need to do is finish the conduit that connects the switch yard to the control trailers that you see at the south end of the switchyard, and then the conduit extending out from that over towards the east and through where you see all of the concrete vault items. Of course, that gets close to those four rounded top workshops that you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, more of the conduit, and then proceeding over towards where the megapacks will be installed. A lot of excavation work still underway, and they've been adding in more conduit and some more of the concrete vaults, as you can tell in this location. There's a continued excavation on this northwest corner of the building where they're going to extend those platforms and most likely have more of the transformers. Of course, we talked in my last video that a lot of the equipment here on the north end has been moved away, although it looks like some new equipment has been brought in. The big thing is that the transformers at the bottom of the screen have been moved over with the megapacks, so we're going to probably expect those to be installed very soon. This large clearing continues to have the piers drilled or using the auger, and also doing the fill and compaction. And there's an extensive amount of the piers in this dirt section. Also to the north of the road, we see this clearing that's somewhat raised by the trees with some of those big pipes sticking up. So I'm not sure if all of this is related or contiguous or if it's two different construction sites, but nevertheless, something big is being planned for that clearing. As I pull away to the north over the trees, I wanted to show you that they continue to remove some of the trees and extend the reclamation work of this land farther to the south. I will come back for a better look, but right now I wanted to fly along this section, show you how more of the grade work is happening right over the trees, and then to the River Roads extension where the underground water pipe drainage system has been added in. I zoom in. This is a good view of this operation underway. Also gives you a kind of a sense of scale with the size of the equipment and the construction site. A great view back to the main factory as well, and you can see how River Road snakes around the tree line and the Colorado River on the left-hand side of the screen. As I continue to pull away to the northeast, show you how River Road's extension is maturing all the way through this section now. Of course, they had to reclaim a lot of this ground because of the old sand and gravel mining, which left some linear hills and valleys. But that work with some geotextile membranes, it looks like, is nearing the point where it's about to exit into Lone Tree Field. From here, it will continue up and around where the material staging yard is located. Of course, Lone Tree, you can see the tree, why I call it that. It's the only tree in this field. The access road for more of the steel to be brought in. And of course, the northeast trailer complex with more materials at the bottom of the screen. I did notice that steel items are being stored here in this newly cleared area. You can see that on the left-hand side of the screen and some at the bottom of the screen. Of course, a couple more workshops have been added in, a plastic-lined structure on the right of the screen. A lot of parking for contractors, and this new structure that has had a slab poured steel columns and now the roof decking. And for now, it almost looks like just half of the building. I'm not sure if they're going to extend that all the way across the slab or not, but this is what it appears like today. And I'm just wondering if this isn't part of the new recycle center so that they can relocate the one where the Advanced Technology Chip Fab is going to be constructed. As I mentioned, we were going to come back here and show you what the land clearing and reclamation work looks like on the south end. Fairly good indentation into the trees on at least these 4 linear hills. And you can see where the silt fence is over to that white tank in the center top of the screen. The rest of this land is continuing to get fill dirt, and they are raising the grade up. Ultimately, it will connect into the prepared foundation for the Optimus factory, as you can tell. In fact, the road on the left is starting to be blurred with the reclaimed land further south. They are also reclaiming this land. They've been bringing in a lot of fill dirt. You can see some of that packed in here, and I'm not sure why they're widening it there, but it'll be something that I can continue to watch. Of course, to this point, all of the footings are completed. They're getting ready to do more to the south. The rest is being filled in, plus they're putting in some of this gravel mixture around the footings. Much of the steel has been delivered and pre-positioned for assembly.
The 7 large cranes are busy today. You can see some of the steel being picked up. Some of that's being sorted. Some of it is being brought over to be assembled onto the building. And a little bit later in the video, you're going to get a chance to see a gigantic column being placed by some workers. And I will point that out, and it will give us a better sense of scale. This facility is actually very large, nearly the size of the main factory itself that you can see in the top left of the screen. And it's really hard sometimes to tell the scale just with the drone shots. But as I pull away to the north, this is a great to look at all of the footing construction that is underway. Almost always to the north is how they've been working, and it's almost to the perimeter grade beam on the north side. In fact, this is the angled corner on that northeast side of the building, and you can see how the footings are kind of following along this beveled edge, and also the rest of the footings, and a view back to the main factory. And pretty soon it's going to reach this north perimeter grade beam. You can see where all the rebar cages are located, more of the excavation work for the footings, and then this is the other beveled edge on this north corner of the building. So once they get all of these done, then the majority of the footings from the north to 3/4 of the south will be completed, and the pace of assembly of steel should pick up even more. And this is a great look at the width of the building right now. It looks like it's about 7 column widths wide so far, not quite the width of the foundation. And they're placing in another of these columns. And you can see with the workers, as I mentioned, a great sense of scale, plus the mass of these columns and how hard it is for them to maneuver these around and get them placed and put onto the bolts so that they can mount this particular column onto the footing. Of course, this will be repeated many more times as the building continues to grow. So I'm going to pull away back to the south, show you what the south part of the factory with all the footings look like, with additional land clearing and geo pier work here on the south end. And I'm going to maneuver towards the middle of the building, and then we'll come up to a higher altitude so you can see what the entire structure and the construction site looks like today, and how it continues to just grow larger and how much more it has to grow. This is, again, going to be a massive facility once it is completed. A good look at the amount of earthwork here on the south end and how they've extended the tree line further to the south, or at least they work to reclaim that land, and how it continues to develop. So I'm going to position the drone back looking towards the rest of the site, kind of an overview of everything that we've been able to see today. And I hope that you found this interesting, especially about the rim process for the Cybercab panels and the regenerative thermal oxidizer. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.